Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Jay's Garage. Today we're talking about socket rails, why I prefer them. I'm going to give you some pros and cons of them, and maybe this will help you determine what type of socket holders you want to use in your toolbox for your needs. One real quick thing, I do pay attention to what you guys say in the comments. I try to take any constructive criticism positively, and one of those is too much talking head, so I'm going to try to work on that for you guys. Alright, so I've been using these Craftsman rails for a long time now, and I've been really happy with them. Problem is they don't really make them anymore. Fortunately, I have all the rails that I need in here. So the Craftsman ones are no longer available, and because of that, I have been on a little bit of a search. There's a whole lot of different brands out there. Socket rails come in many different shapes and forms. I was looking for something similar, and I noticed that Husky has these plastic rails that are very similar to what Craftsman had. Just for comparison's sake, I went ahead and picked up an aluminum rail right here by Husky as well. So we'll be comparing that today. Now, one thing I've always liked about these portable socket rails is you can, for one, these plastic type, they get really close together. You can pack as many sockets as the rail will hold, and there's no wasted space. You can also put on as many of these socket stud adapters as you need. So if I need less or I need more, I can have the exact amount on there for the sockets I have. I find this really useful to have the amount of stud adapters that you need on here, so that way when a socket's missing, the infamous 10 mil, I know that it's missing and I can put it right back where it goes. So I really like rails because sockets are easy to misplace, especially if you have a whole bunch of them out on a job. Who knows where they're going to end up? And at least when you have these rails, you can identify a missing spot as a socket that needs to go back to its home.
I want to go home.
I really like the portability of these plastic rails. If I'm not sure what size I need for a job, I can grab this whole rail and take it over to the workspace with me. And that way I'm not making all these unnecessary trips back and forth to the box.
Oh, we have a good back and forth, you and me.
I've had better.
A lot of times when I'm working on something, I do need multiple sizes. I may not need all of these sizes, but I do need multiple sizes more often than not. So just being able to take this whole thing over to my workspace, have them all nice and organized, is quite useful to me. I also like to be able to take sockets on the go. If I know I'm going to go do something where I might need tools, I can just throw these in a tool bag, or put them in my truck and not worry about sockets tumbling around everywhere. And then when I need them, they're in order. I don't have to dig around and search for loose sockets. Same goes for my tool drawer. It's annoying to have just a socket drawer that's just full of loose sockets. You spend so much time digging through trying to find the ones you need when you could just have them on rails, quickly grab what you need, and save yourself the wasted time. It's so nice to just know when something's missing. So if you loan a friend a socket or something like that, every time you open your box, you have that reminder that that particular socket's missing. If you don't organize your sockets, it's hard to tell what is missing, especially if you have a lot of sockets. Now, these plastic rails by Husky, very much the same as the Craftsman ones. They're built really well, nice ribbing. I already did the drop test on these. I filmed this and had to come back and make a shorter version because I just talk too much sometimes. So yeah, so these have already been dropped. I'll show you some of that a little bit later, but they held up pretty fine. I did break one of the studs off of this, spoiler alert. Really no complaints in the durability, so good quality. Husky offers these in 3 different rail sizes. This is the 1/4 inch drive, this is the 3/8, and I believe the 1/2 inch is even longer, probably as long as this Craftsman rail. The Craftsman rail only ever came in 1 length, but 2 colors. Husky comes in only red, but 3 rail sizes. You can mix match these stud adapters, so if I want a shorter rail for 3/8 or 1/2 or whatever, I can move these around to accommodate the rail size that I need. You can also buy extra rails too if I don't ever want to use these small ones, but I need the 1/4 inch. I can buy this rail, just slide all the adapters off and put it on a longer rail. So there's a little bit of option there. They don't sell these studs individually, which is kind of a bummer, but I often found with the Craftsman ones that the packs of studs were pretty much just as much as buying a whole new rail. So you might as well do that anyways. It's just unfortunate to have extra pieces laying around that inevitably become trash. These plastic ones are $7.47 a piece. It doesn't matter what size you buy. They're all $7.47. This aluminum rail is almost $18 or is $18. I think it's also the same price for the different sizes, and it does come in different rail lengths as well. Not really sure if you can interchange the adapters. I didn't get 2 of these, so I'm kind of letting you guys down there. You'd be able to see, I guess, if you went to the store, but the rail lengths are different. For this is 1/4 inch drive, there's 3/8 and half, and I think each one of those gets longer than this rail, so this would be the shortest of their aluminum rails right here. Now what I like about the aluminum rail is that aesthetically it's a little bit more pleasing than the plastic rail, although the aluminum rail is likely to get the finish scratched up on it over time depending on how you use it. If it spends most of its time inside your box, it's not likely to get abused. There is the disadvantage of these sockets not being able to go all the way together, so you can't fit as many on a rail. Maybe it's nice to have some space in between them. I kind of prefer to be able to get the sockets all the way next to each other so I can condense the amount of space that my sockets take up. This rail does allow you to take the end cap off and remove studs that you don't need. There's not really room to add more. The way this rail comes configured, you could probably add like 1 more stud in there, but it comes pretty much maxed out with the amount of studs you need, where these plastic rails have plenty of room for the most part, depending on how big the sockets are you're putting on there, to add a few more. Now the aluminum one, it has it's like a foam bottom to it. It doesn't feel very durable, probably easy to beat up if it's not staying in the box. If it's in a tool bag or on the go a lot, you can almost count on this foam on the bottom here getting tore up. There's also a magnet underneath this layer of foam, which is nice if you want to stick it to a surface. Like I can have my sockets, not that I would put them on the front of my box, but I can just have them right here. You can remove sockets without pulling the rail off of the surface. Nice strong magnetic hold. Really good if you want to have these like on the side of something, or just like magnetic on the top of a work surface that you're going to move around, and that way they won't fall off. It's nice in the tool drawer as well. Let me show you that. All right, so putting it down in the tool drawer here, it has the advantage of being able to just lift a socket off of it without lifting the entire rail. Now, if you're not sure what size the socket is, of course you can always grab one and know if your sockets are in order. Like this is a 10 mil, so I know that if I go a couple sizes bigger, I'm at a 12 mil. But if I'm ever unsure and I need to lift the rail out, this magnetic rail is a little harder to grab a hold of, especially if I have them all next to each other like I do with these plastic rails. It would be harder to grab it off the surface. But if you're going to position it and you're going to leave it there and you're going to be happy with just grabbing the sockets off, the magnet is quite nice. I do like being able to just one-handed grab a socket and not lift the whole tray, where like this I'm grabbing the whole rail. So I would get this aluminum rail I would use for if my socket rail was mostly going to spend its time in my box and that I wasn't ever going to take it right out to the job that I was working on. The only problem with the magnet is though, when you bring it out to the job, you're more than likely to get little like metal shavings from working on stuff, and that stuff's just going to get picked up by this magnet and end up on the bottom, and really it's kind of an annoyance. If I use this socket holder in a tool bag, the magnet on the bottom could be grabbing other tools in the bag, which may be annoying. The plastic rails don't deal with that. The plastic rails are lighter too, so if you are taking them on the go, there's less weight. To me, the plastic rails are the ticket, because in the case of these Husky ones, they come in different sizes. They come with room to add more socket studs. They have the ability to put the sockets close together and save space. and they're plenty durable enough. I don't feel bad about taking them right on the job. They don't get beat up very easily. There's no finish to scratch up. If I do cause damage to these, they're less likely to have sharp edges, unlike the aluminum ones. So instead of socket rails, there's socket trays that have like little posts on them that you can set all your sockets on. The thing I don't like about those is you don't really have the ability to take that tray and bring it out to a job, or at least you can, but it doesn't work as well as grabbing a socket rail, because these are all clipped on. So if I knock this over, my sockets aren't falling all over the place. These rails are pretty durable, as you'll see in the drop test in this video. So there's a lot of advantage and convenience to this, where those trays, they're pretty spaced out, so they waste space in between sockets. They're generally not as durable. They are relatively affordable. They also come with predetermined amount of socket spots, and a lot of them are marked for a specific size. So if you're not using it in that configuration, you'll end up with spots that are empty, and that kind of interrupts the flow of your tool accountability. So if you are using something like that, you might want to like mark off a post that you don't have a size for if you lack that size. If you use the rails that are on like a board where there's like 4 of them, there's some similar advantages there, but one problem I found is that you can put these rails really close together when you get them individually, where when you get them on a panel, they're spaced out, which is wasting space. And then because 4 of them are fixed to the panel, if you want to take some sizes with you, some sets with you, you end up taking all 4 rails, and you just don't have this ability to grab a ratchet and a little set of sockets like this. So that's a really big reason why I like the individual rails. Now you could do foam cutouts in your box, which can be all right. I don't really like that for sockets. I don't really like that in general, because my tool collection is always changing and expanding, and I think that using foam cutouts in your box is more for when you have a box configured exactly how it needs to be for a job. You're not going to be adding to or removing tools from that collection. You know what you need, it's in there, and those slots help you identify when something's missing. So even if I was doing foam cutouts, I would probably use these rails and just cut out the foam to fit the rail, and it would sit in the foam spot on the box. But I mostly find that unnecessary. And in my box, I really like to just cram all these socket rails in as tight as I can so that they don't waste too much space. And it's worked out for me quite well. If I was to do it all over again, I'd do this same exact thing. I have no regrets.
Like not even a single letter.
All right, so what do you guys think about the use of socket rails? Do you think that they are a good way to organize sockets? Do you prefer another method? Let me know in the comments below. I'm curious to see what you guys think. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more from Jay's Garage, hit subscribe. And until the next video, guys, I'll see you around.